Hello everyone. In our last video, we looked at the advantages of cloud computing, isn't it? In this video, let's learn about cloud service models. So, starting from the very basics, let's learn with real-life examples from daily life. We will understand what cloud service models are and why they are used, making the whole topic easier to grasp and understand. First off, let's talk about how software engineers configure various layers to run a software application. Starting with the physical layer, this includes all the hardware stuff like data centers, servers, networking wires, and storage devices. Think of it like the foundation of a building. Next up is the OS layer. Once you have got your servers set up, you need an operating system, be it Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. This is where you also install all necessary softwares like antivirus programs. It's like choosing the type of rooms and their interiors for your building. Then we have platform layer and runtime layer. These are where you install all the dependencies needed for your project code to run. For example, if you want to play videos on your phone or computer, you need a video player to be installed, right? Similarly, to run your software application code, you set up the necessary dependencies in these layers. Moving on, the code layer is where you actually run the software you have developed. It's like finally living in the building you constructed. Last but not least, we have the application layer. This is where we will configure the application and use the application. So, to get a software application up and running, you need to configure all these layers. If we are setting up our own traditional on-premise data center, the responsibility for all the software application layers falls on us. This means we are not just in charge of buildings and servers, we are also responsible for installing the OS, setting up the platform, and also placing the code. In an on-premise data center scenario, software companies and engineers have to handle everything from the infrastructure to the application layers. But keep in mind, while you have more work to do in the setting up a data center, you also have more control. But by using cloud computing, as we discussed in our last video, some of the responsibilities for these software application layers are taken care by cloud service providers. These cloud service models show how flexible cloud service providers can be when giving us those services, which we will look at now. There are mainly three types of cloud service models. The first one is IaaS, which stands for Infrastructure as a Service. The next one is PAAS, which stands for Platform as a Service. And the third one is SaaS, which is Software as a Service. We are going to dive into what these really mean and how they work. But first, let's understand them with a real-life examples so that it is easier to grasp. Let's consider a funny example to understand various service offerings. Imagine you wanted to have a chicken dish. Here is how you can go about it. First option, you can buy a live chicken, take on the responsibility of cutting and cooking it, and then preparing the chicken dish yourself. Second option, you can go directly to the shop and buy chicken meat that's already been cut. All you need to have to do is to take it home and cook it to prepare your chicken dish. And finally, the third option, you can simply buy the cooked chicken dish. So, let's look at the differences between these three options. With the first option, where you buy a live chicken and cook it yourself, you have more control. You can choose the chicken you like and cook it just the way you want. But at the same time, there is more responsibility on you since you are handling both meat cutting and cooking. In the second option, you just buy the cut chicken meat from the store and then cook the dish yourself. Here, you don't have to worry about cutting the chicken. The only thing you have to do is prepare the dish. But the key point is, you don't have control over what kind of chicken or what size the cuts are. But at the same time, you're skipping the chicken meat cutting part. And finally, buying the chicken dish directly means you don't have to worry about cutting the chicken or cooking it. The downside, you have no control over either cutting the chicken or cooking. The most important thing to understand here is you shouldn't compare these three options as better or worse. It all depends on our situation and needs. Just like at home, our mom might cook chicken dish. But if we are going outside, we would prefer to eat at the restaurant by buying an already prepared chicken dish. Similarly, we choose cloud service models based on our specific needs and situations. Let's see how that works. Let's begin with infrastructure as a service model. We can compare this to buying a live chicken and then cutting and cooking it ourselves. We have already seen that if you want to run a software application, you have to set up various layers, right? In a traditional on-premise data center scenario, all that steps is our responsibility. But in the infrastructure as a service model, cloud service providers takes care of the physical layer, like setting up the buildings, servers, and network cables. That leaves us with the responsibility of the other layers, like the OS layer, platform, and application layers. So, if we need control right down to the OS level for running our software applications, infrastructure as a service or IaaS is the way to go. For instance, AWS has EC2, Azure have VM services, and GCP has Cloud Engine as an example for IaaS. A quick note here, with IaaS, you might get control at the OS level, but keep in mind that you will have more responsibilities for setting up the other layers too. The next thing is platform as a service or PAAS. It's like buying pre-cut chicken and only worrying about cooking the dish. We already knew that in IaaS, cloud service providers takes care of the physical layer, like buildings and servers. In PAAS, they go a step further and manage not just the physical stuff, but also operating system, security tools, and platform tools. That way, we can focus directly on developing and deploying our software application code. So, if we are looking to run software applications and we don't need to control at the OS level and we want to just focus on developing our software code, then platform as a service is for us. For example, in AWS, we have RDS service, Azure, it is SQL database service, and in GCP, we have Cloud SQL service. Quick point to remember here is, in PAAS, we don't have to worry about OS level responsibilities. We can focus directly on developing and deploying our application code. As we don't have the control at OS level, that's okay. We also don't have to deal with the headache of installation because the cloud service providers take care of providing the platform for us in order to run our applications. Finally, software as a service. Think of it like directly buying a cooked chicken dish. In PaaS, cloud service providers take responsibility till platform setup, whereas in SaaS, just like you don't have to worry about cutting or cooking the chicken, in SaaS, everything from the physical server to the software application is handled by the cloud service provider. All we have to do is to use the software. You don't have to worry about any layer of the infrastructure, OS, or platforms. It's all taken care for you. So, if there is a task that we need to do and there is already a ready-made app for it, we can directly pay for it and start using it. For instance, for meetings, we have options like Zoom or AWS Chime. For making documents, we can utilize something like Microsoft Office. And if we need to set up company emails, we can utilize tools like Google Workspace. Quick note, in SaaS, you don't have to worry about the things like the OS or the platform. We can simply buy a license for the software we want to use. However, keep in mind that your control is limited to using the features the software offers. You will not have control over any other aspects of the software. Here is a quick comparison to help you grasp the different cloud service models. In traditional on-premise data center, we have to handle everything, setting up, maintaining, and managing all these layers. In infrastructure as a service model, cloud service providers take care of the physical layer like servers and network. We are in charge of the OS, platform, and our application data layers. In platform as a service model, cloud service providers manages the physical OS and platform layers, and our main goal is to focus on application and data layers. Lastly, in software as a service model, cloud service providers offers the entire software as a service. We can simply use it with zero maintenance responsibilities. One key thing to remember here is that no option is better or worse. It all depends on what you need. If you need control at the OS level, go for IAAS. If you just want to focus on your application code, PAAS is for you. And if there is already a software that meets your needs, you can choose SAAS. Let's quickly summarize our learnings. In this video, we learned what cloud service models are and also about various cloud service models like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. In the next video, we will learn about cloud deployment models. With that said, see you all in the next video, everyone.